Hello, I'm Richard Raffan, and I'm going to show you how I make a tripod bowl, or the foot on a tripod bowl. I've got this bowl which was made some time ago, and I had a few little problems getting the foot on it, but in the end we've ended up with this. So you can, the feet are pretty subtle. I can just about see one little lump there, but the idea is to have 3 feet, so if the bowl ever feels like warping, it doesn't really matter, it'll always sit square. So this is basically how to do that. So this is a piece of yellow wood. It was a bowl I made some time ago. It's got a few splits and things in, so it's rather an experimental bowl for me. I wasn't going to do a tripod on this, so I didn't really bother too much about the bottom. So what you're going to see first, before I do any carving, is I want to kind of shape this so there's a curve going from here to the foot. So I've got a problem mounting this up, and the way I'm going to do it is basically between centres. So this is going on the lathe, this is just a backing board, and then the bowl is going between centres. So this is non-slip cloth to stop the whole thing spinning around, or so that it goes round with the. I was practicing this yesterday. Something I do that often. So I know where centre is because I've already got a hole there, which is a little bit too deep anyway, and that's something I'm going to have to remove at some stage. So that should run true. And I'm just going to basically just reshape this so that I've got less work to do when I'm doing the sanding. So I'm going to use the wing of the 1/2-inch spindle gouge. Just going to stroke the tool, and this curve is really quite awkward to do when I'm doing with sanding, with power sanding. This is the shear scraper, which I'm going to use right up on its side, and I can shear scrape in on that curve and just pull it back. I can't remember how this wood works, but that didn't sound very nice. Much better than it sounded, thank goodness. Right, so there's a few little teeth marks there, which I'll turn away. They're just in the wrong place for the sanding, but that will allow me to get into there. There are a few little marks, but that doesn't really matter. Now the other thing I need to know, it's useful to have a pencil line just so when I do the layout for the base, I'll just have that, and I know where the centre is because there's a shocking great hole there, and I'm going to cut some of the middle out so that saves me a lot of sanding later. Right, so that's quite a handy way of holding something between centres, and you can see now, I hope there's a slightly better curve there, and I'll be able to sand that quite comfortably. Now, next thing is I've got to get this out of the way, and I can get set up with a bit of non-slip mat on the lathe, on the bed here, and then that will stop that sliding around. Now I'm going to get the chuck off. The problems with doing things in real time is that you see it in real time, so I'm trying to do that as quickly and efficiently as possible. This is going to come into here, and the reason I've moved the rest out is so that I can use it as a clamp, so the bowl is held a bit more firmly there. Now to lay out the centre, there are 2 ways of doing this. One is, if you remember your geometry from school, just getting some dividers. Where are they? There they are. if you take the radius, you can step that out 6 times around the edge, around the circumference. Now you want 1 foot of the grains running this way. I want 1 foot on that line, and then the other ones will come, so I can go round the edge 1. That's 1 point, and I don't really want to make a mark there with the compass because, or the dividers, because that'll just mark the wood. And that'll, whoops, that one will be there. Not too exact, and then that one will come back to where, anyway, that's fine. So, and then from there I can just kind of sketch that out so I know roughly where my 3 feet are going to be. Now I've also got, I used to do quite a few of these. I've got a Perspex disc which I did, as you can see, with, at least difficult to catch the light, it's got lines on and with holes in it, so I can get the center over center and pretty well line up. I make a little mark underneath, and so I can see that my marks were in the right place, but that's another way to go. So, having got that, I know where my high spots are going to be. I've got a flap sander. You could carve this with a chisel and a mallet, but I tend to, because I'm doing these commercially, you want to do it as quickly, as efficiently as possible. Get the dust extraction on. Pretty noisy, so I'm better off really with the angle drill, and going to start off with 120 on this. My idea is just to leave 3 little mounds. take out a bit more in the valley. So that's not looking too bad. I should really have sanded this earlier on. Normally when I'm doing this, I fair the surface from the underside into the sides, so it's a little bit kind of carved but smooth around the bottom. But here I've still got a few swirl marks, but I can put this back on the lathe, back between centres, and just power sand that. So actually no, before I do that I need to do one more. I can go from the 120 quite happily to 240 on that. The first time I've actually done one of these quite this way, so you never know what you're going to learn in a day. Normally I sand the square foot into a curve, but this seems to be a much better way of doing it, so I'll be doing that again. Now this time I don't want to mess up the middle, so I need to have something to hold that in place. And I've got these little bits of MDF which have been rounded off, and the purpose of that is it can go over the cone, and so the pressure is going to be this little kind of flat bit. I hope that holds it all right. And of course now I'm going to have a little bit of a problem centering the bowl. As you can see, it's going to have to be done by eye. And near enough is going to be good enough here for sanding, I think. Good enough. So, and I've got my got the 240 grit on here, so I'll power sand this as well. just get in on the rest with the bit of hand sanding. So this is the 240 grit blue stuff. This was finished at one stage with oil, so you might get a bit of build up in the paper. That doesn't seem to be happening. Right, so I'm going in and out with the lumps. I can put the speed down a bit and it looks good. So that is that. You can probably swing round and see it sitting up on top of the bench. I'll just oil it, and then that bowl will be done. It's not my normal kind of bowl. I don't normally do things with arty rims like this. And it was this bit of wood which came from the Botanic Gardens in Sydney, and we were going to be making stuff for an exhibition with it, but it really wasn't very nice wood to use, and full of splits, which is not something I like to avoid. So it ended up here. Now this rag has got lots of wax in it as well, so that's what I'll finish that, and then we'll get another layer later. But that's the bottom, and then we sit it on the top. It'll sit quite nicely, and I can just see light underneath it. And that's that.